27th of August 1991. By the early 90s, hip-hop had become a hugely profitable industry. Following two classic albums, expectations were high for Biz Markie, who styled himself as the clown prince of hip-hop, when he released his third LP, I Need a Haircut, in August 1991. Critical reaction was ambivalent at the time and sales were disappointing, but the album nevertheless had a profound impact on the development of the genre. One of the tracks, Alone Again, featured an uncleared 20-second sample from Gilbert O'Sullivan's maudlin 1972 hit, Alone Again Naturally. Unimpressed, O'Sullivan's publishing company brought suit against his label, and rendering his verdict, Judge Kevin Thomas Duffy ignored the nuances of copyright law and likened Biz Markie to a common thief, stating, "Thou shalt not steal has been an admonition since the dawn of civilization." He issued an injunction and prevented future distribution of the album and the song in question. He also referred the case to a district attorney for possible criminal prosecution. Although Biz never did porridge for his alleged violation of the Seventh Commandment, the case set a precedent for seeing unlicensed sampling as a crime. Biz would poke fun at his misfortunes, calling his next album All Samples Cleared, but his career had been damaged by the publicity and sales of the record suffered accordingly. As a result of the court case, the era of carefree sampling was over, and the sound of hip-hop music, drawn from combinations of samples from diverse sources, was forced to change. Sample-heavy albums, along the vein of Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, and the Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, were rammed with literally dozens of samples, and it would no longer be viable. Every sample had to be cleared to avoid legal action. Clearance fees prohibited the use of more than one or two samples, requesting up to sometimes 100% of the publishing revenue from the tune for a single sample. Many artists continued to sample but retreated into using more and more obscure source materials. These developments hit smaller independent labels disproportionately, and even a group as viable as Public Enemy was unable to issue their hit Cycle of Greed on a 2002 Revolution LP built around a sample of the Beatles song Tomorrow Never Knows. The clearance fee was so high, the track was pulled from the album. And it's hard for an objective observer to believe that there is not a systematically racist sentiment driving all of this. It comes as no surprise that the first popular uprising of the new musical sampling technologies was by black urban youth, the same sort of kids who'd invented jazz and rock and roll generations back. And the man had tried to suppress those too. After alcohol prohibition ended in 1933, funding for the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, now known as the Drug Enforcement Administration, was reduced dramatically. The FBN's director, Harry J. Anslinger, then became a leading advocate of marijuana prohibition, and in hearings on the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, Anslinger testified before Congress stating, "Marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. Most marijuana smokers are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. The satanic music, jazz and swing result from marijuana usage. Marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes." Ah! Of course, many US states also had laws banning mixed-race marriages. Some dated from before independence even. Many of these were in effect even until 1967, and thus the holy trinity of sex and drugs and rock and roll were weaponized into mere attack vectors for systematic racism. Fuck.